Alright, here we are in game number 2, guys. As you can see at all times, the score will be displayed down here throughout the course of the night, as that's where GameHeart does place it. I am Rifkin, joined by Zombie Grub. You're watching IEM Cologne Qualifiers. This is Stage 2. This is the one that actually picks who gets the fully paid trip and who gets to go to Cologne. Of course, all provided by ESL, the wonderful overlords of StarCraft 2. No sarcasm there. One thing to talk about real quick, guys, is there's a loser's bracket. So if Huck goes out, if ZergZingZing goes out, fear not, your favorite players have a second chance. But without further ado, spotting in the top right corner of the map, I don't know why I'm so zoomed out, but I am. It is the red Zerg player from IVD Gaming, Ivy Drip. Give it up for ZergZingZing.
Maximum zoom in. On the bottom left, as the orange Protoss, it is EG's Huck.
Yeah, Huck got away with a lot that last game. Of course, for Yansu, you've got a much more comfortable third to take, regardless of which one you're forced into. I mean, I don't think there's a single person who loves this more exposed base, but regardless of which one you take, it's a little bit more comforting to know that it's not going to be nearly as harassable as, say, Frost was. Again, we need to beckon back to the fact that Huck had some of the greatest harass last game. I mean, just MVP in that regard.
You know, a lot of casters use the term constant when they talk about, you know, someone like dropping everywhere and stuff like that, but oftentimes there are lulls, like you're in the medevac or they don't have enough for the warp in, but just I literally seen the constant. If it wasn't in one place, it was somewhere else. It was almost like he was using like 99% of his gateway on just that.
Yeah, and I kind of made the joke with the Dodo waves, but that's kind of what I was getting at too, where it's just like relentless, constant, consistent, whatever word you want to use, Huck didn't let up. Again, I don't know if he'll be afforded the same opportunity here on Yansu. There's definitely different ways you can harass. Third base towards the north is exposed from this ramp, as well as this giant open area in between. As Zerg players often do like to take down these rocks in order to get a little bit quicker pathway over there, and some players will opt to just say screw it and take this further, more exposed base because it's a little safer in the terms of like limiting where your opponent can come from, because they have to go all the way around or through the rocks that you normally break down. We'll see what ZergZingZing has in mind, of course, in a moment's time. Huck, in the meantime, is chronoing out that Stalker, getting the warp tech out, but one thing worth noting again, delaying the mothership core. Not a big deal, as we did see it get pretty good use last game. Just interesting, because often players will rush out that mothership core as soon as possible to get all that energy up quickly.
Also see that ZingZing is going to go for that gas opener. Last time he went for the triple hatch before gas, which was so popular back in Wings of Liberty, especially Wings of Liberty. But the gas opener, I'd say, is actually I don't want to say more popular, but it seems more popular. At least in Heart of the Swarms, because it does give you a lot of utility. You know, it takes away your economy a little bit, but especially on a map like Yansu, where you do have those rocks in between your natural and your third, you're going to want to have map control.
Sorry, I'm making weird noises while you're talking, not to interrupt, because that drone had like its death projectile coming when it started building into the spine crawler. This Stalker coming out, of course, is weird to see. I like that Huck's actually waiting for the shields to regenerate before going back in. Shields, of course, regenerate much faster than the innate Zerg health regeneration, so could poke this queen again if you wanted to, but I think he knows that there'll be reinforcements this time.
Yeah. Now, Huck has no idea what the plan is for ZingZing. He should be checking the third, you know, pretty soon to see, you know, you want to see if they got it, and of course, when they got it. And that mothership core is perfect for that, as the queens will not be over there in time at all. Like, they got to spread that creep and then go over there, because breaking the rocks at this stage is not really feasible for a Zerg player.
Warp tech finishing up in a moment's time. Again, I love these little upgrade timers. They're so, it's not even that they're handy because everyone can watch the production tab. Everyone's used to watching the production tab. But it looks cool and it's not invasive. Two very difficult things to pull off. Core. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to talk about its massive vision. I mean, look at this thing. It's about as big as a screen. So the position where it is can see precisely what Huck is doing with his queens at the moment. He knows there's no way for those rocks to be down just yet. This is the only avenue out of Zerg's base right now.
Ooh, okay, so we got a very early third from Huck right now. This Overload's going to come in and see what Huck has. It's only going to see a lot of sentries. Not much else where it does die. Unfortunately, ZergZingZing not putting another Overlord to the left to suicide later. But he's going to want to see this third with all these lings, because these lings are perfect for denying the third. Like, literally, he doesn't know it's there, but it's going to be great.
If they take it on the pylon, of course, with nothing powering the cannon. Mothership core can try and come home, but the Nexus big question is going to be whether it's done in time to get that overcharge off. I kind of don't like ZergZingZing focusing on the Nexus. I think maybe going for the pylon might have been a better choice in this scenario, as we do see the cannon finish up, and this will drive the Lings right out of the base. Time Warp's going to try and hit the sentries in range for force fields. Gets a couple more Ling kills for it, nothing too crazy, but a great reaction out of Huck. Did not really panic at all.
No, he didn't. There's already a good SimCity, you know, so the Lings couldn't get a full surround. So yeah, probably going for the pylon and then getting the sentries, you know, because they were baited out. They needed to come over there. May have been a better bet. That wasn't too much of an investment for ZingZing, though. It was only like 20 Lings or so. And he just drones up behind it. It's not a big deal. He has those, of course, for later use as well, and a good map control.
It's worth noting, too, that Huck has actually lost nothing so far this game. A little bit curious of a thing to see. More force fields will just destroy ZergZingZing Zerglings here. Mothership Core will even get the last one to completely just round this up. Yikes.
Well, that was a little disappointing. I just talked about how they're going to be great for map control, and then they die.
Well, that's actually what's really important here. The fact that he did just lose that map control. Now he has no idea this army's pushing out. There's no overlords in position to scout it. There's no watchtower control. And suddenly Huck is at his doorstep with a lot of sentries. Now it's not like he's droning, and it's not like he's getting caught off guard by this. But again, you want to know this is coming. You want to know when it's coming, precisely how it's coming. But fighting near the ramp is not going to work out too well. He's just getting choked behind force fields, I fear.
Yeah, that was pretty dangerous. Of course, he didn't really let Huck come up there, but he just didn't have the roaches quite in time, and that is unfortunate. Now, there's just enough popping out from the third and natural that Huck will have to be careful. Of course, he always has that recall. That's why you're allowed to do these pushes as a Protoss player.
Yeah, he's actually backing up in full here. ZergZingZing is actually going to chase him down a little bit. Definitely out in the open now. This is not a fight that Huck really wants to take, and that's why he is in full retreat, but I don't know. Can he get home in time? There's a lot of stalkers waiting at the top of the ramp to help guard this.
Yeah, he's good, especially with that time warp that he was saving, so. And I feel like any time that Huck pushes out, you know, unless it's backed up by a bunch of gateways, it really is trying to catch your opponent not building any units at all. So unfortunately, ZergZingZing was already on top of that, and nothing happened, nothing too great. ZergZingZing is going for Spire, however, behind this, and well, how prepared for that will Huck be?
That's a pretty darn good question. I'm gonna just one sec to the admin.
Okay, well, I'm looking around, and he has a Robo, a Twilight Council. He's gonna have good upgrades, as you know, or Protoss usually do for their attack. But he's also gonna have Blink. He's investing into it. He hasn't seen it, and he has no idea. But Blink is useful in all situations. Just gonna have to be you know, a little more useful here.
Alright, ZergZingZing chipping away the rocks here. Trying to find a way into Huck's base. Huck, of course, still has a lot of force field energy from the sentries earlier. Blink finishing up in a moment's time, but we do see Ventricle Sacks on the way, as well as Pneumatized Carapace. And sometimes you see the Ventricle Sacks alone, and it's like, was that a misclip? That's a bit awkward, but this is definitely intentional. And of course, one thing that this is going to afford ZergZingZing the capability is to completely bypass those force fields. But you can do the same thing with Tunneling Claws. But because he's not investing in the roaches, and because he's not investing in ranged weapon upgrades, we're not going to get to see those, sadly. Despite how cool they are.
I wonder where he got that Spire. I really do. Maybe he was expecting that Huck already has Colossus on the way, and of course you would like Corruptors for that, but maybe what he saw, maybe the amount of Blink Stalkers, he said, no, I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to go ahead and go for those drops. Because I think it was around the time that he pushed up and saw a Huck's army.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, where like if for some reason Huck was going primarily Zealot heavy with sentries, Mutalisks are not a bad choice either. But with so many Stalkers available to him, Huck is in no real danger of anything coming out of that Spire. So even the Overlord drops may not be effective, as I think most of them will get targeted down by the Stalkers before they can unload anything.
It really depends on how like reactive Huck can be, right? You don't expect that anymore. The Overlord's coming towards your army, so if he's instant reacts, clear those down. But ZingZing, he's not going to be able to use that Ventral Sacks yet, as he does have to defend this push.
As long as Huck fights near a ramp, or a wall, or a choke, like, this is his fight to win. ZergZingZing's got to either find a way to bait him out, or find a much better place to engage around. And Huck knows this. That's why we don't see him overextending. He's not trying to go past further than where he needs to. Such a smart guy, Zombie Girl.
He is a pretty smart player, and everyone's saying how good he is lately, so definitely expect to see good things from him as the tournament goes on and as 2014 goes on. This is a pretty good position. He's going to force field off the back, but he's run out of force fields. Never mind, it's actually terrible for Huck.
That blink back actually cost him the Immortal too at the front lines. There's still 2 Immortals standing. Hydros cannot get involved with the fight, which is what's really the problematic, and ZergZingZing did not pull back with those forces. He's now funneling in with what little he has rather than regrouping and recouping his losses, but instead forces out a very awkward fight. Takes out a good chunk of the Stalkers out, but I don't think it was enough.
The initial force holds weren't that great, but he did find more in his army, so it ended up being pretty darn good for Huck. He still retains a lot of his Blink Stalkers, and you always say this with Blink Stalkers versus Hydras, you know, the Blink Stalkers, there are more of them. They actually do really, really well.
Huck isn't even doing like intense Blink micro. He's just aggressively getting on top of the Hydras, moving and repositioning. I mean, quite frankly, he is brute forcing ZergZingZing down. He doesn't need finesse in this army because he's got the power, he's got the numbers. With double the army supply and third base farm for ZergZingZing, even without massive force fields, there's just no way to engage this.
Down by, you know, almost half the supply right now. Oh yeah, so that's GG. ZergZingZing will go down 2-0 to Huck, and that puts him in the loser's bracket.
You know, I'm not going to lie, I was really expecting this series to go 2-1 at the very least in the favor of Huck, but unfortunately, as Grub states, that we'll send ZergZingZing sailing for now, but of course not out of the tournament, not yet.